Finally, let's talk about looping in Python. It's nothing complicated, but the syntax is a little bit unusual. It does read very nicely, though. I'll give that to Python. Let's just look at some examples, and it will make more sense. Let's break this down. So for x in range 10. So let's start with range 10. That range function just returns back a list of the first 10 integers. So that's going to give me back a list of the numbers 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And for x in range 10, we'll iterate through that list, one number at a time, and assign each of those values to the variable x. So then we will print each one of those values individually. Again, we have that colon followed by anything indented being part of this for block here. So this should just print out the values 0 through 9, and indeed it does. So again, what's happening here, we're taking a list of the values 0 through 9. That's what range 10 gives us. We iterate through that list one at a time, assigning each individual value to the variable x at each iteration, and print that value out each time. Let's also talk about the continue and break operators. So just like in other languages, continue means skip the rest of this block for this for loop and just go back to the beginning, and break means end this loop prematurely. So we're going to do the same thing here again where we say for x in range 10, but if x is 1, we're going to skip things. We're going to say continue. So we're not actually going to print it out if the value of x is 1. We're just going to skip the rest of this block and go back to the next iteration right away. That's what continue does. However, if x is greater than 5, we're going to break early. So anything greater than 5, we're just going to stop the loop entirely prematurely. Otherwise, we'll print stuff out if we actually get to that point. So let's walk through what happens here. Let's run it first of all. So the first time we go through the list, we're going to get the value 0 assigned to x. 0 is not 1, so we don't continue. It's not greater than 5, so we don't break, so we go ahead and print it out. But the next time through, x is going to be 1, and x is 1, so we say continue, so we skip on to the next iteration of 2 before we print that out. So the value 1 never gets printed. 2 does get printed out because it's neither 1 nor greater than 5, and we just keep on going until we hit the value 6, at which point this condition actually is true, and we break out of the loop prematurely. So instead of printing out the values 0 through 9, we print out the values 0 through 5, excluding 1. So that's why we have this output here, 0, 2, 3, 4, 5, because we continued on the value of 1, and we broke out of the loop after 5. Another way of looping is using the while statement. So we can say x equals 0, and then while x is less than 10, that will just keep on iterating through this block of code, whatever's indented after that colon, until that condition is false. So initially x is 0, 0 is less than 10, we go ahead and print it out. We will then increment x by 1. So what happens here is the next time through it'll be 1, then 2, then 3, and so forth. Eventually x will be 10, and then 10 is not less than 10, so we break out of the while loop finally. Very easy to write yourself into an infinite loop in these sorts of things, so you do have to be careful with while loops, just like with any other language, but that's what the syntax of a while loop looks like in Python. Go ahead and execute that, and it does work as expected. Goes all the way up to 10 and then breaks before it hits 10. All right, so you've seen the syntactical quirks of Python. It's time to set you loose and actually write some code yourself. Really simple activity. All I want you to do is write some code that creates a list of integers, loops through each element of the list, and only prints out the even numbers. So this kind of ties together some of the stuff we've talked about in the previous lectures. You should be able to just refer back to the code earlier in this same notebook to figure out what you need to do. Really, the only point is to get the syntax right. But if you are having more of a fundamental problem with figuring this out, probably again a good chance to go back and take an introductory Python course to kind of refresh yourselves on the fundamentals of programming in general. So go ahead and hit the pause button on the video and give that a try yourself. When we come back, I'll show you my solution here. All right, did you do your homework? No watching until you actually tried it yourself? Now there is more than one way to do this, but here's my solution. All I did was create a list called y that contains the numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. I didn't tell you what kind of list it had to be, so it doesn't have to be those numbers, obviously. I then iterate through every value in that list with for x in y, so that will iterate through the y list, assigning each element to x. And if x mod 2 equals 0, I'm going to print out x, because if it's evenly divisible by 2, it's even. So we just go ahead and execute that, and sure enough, we get 2 and 4. It worked. So I hope you had an easy enough time with that. Again, we're just trying to cover what's weird about Python here, what's special about it, what's unique about its syntax. And now that you've had a little bit of exposure to Python code, you should be able to follow along with the rest of the course pretty easily.